Hey, it's Donna from the Ingalls Memorial Library, and welcome back for the fourth and final installment of Pandemic Pantry. And it's the final installment not because we're opening next week, though I would love to do that. It's because it's the end of April, and I think it's time to move on from the Pandemic Pantry. I'm not a cook by design. I can pretty much eat anything and be happy with that. Cereal is fine with me most days. And I'm not responsible for the family cooking, so I don't have a lot of recipes up my sleeve. And when we started this all back in the end of April, end of March, I think we didn't think it would go this long. So I'm trying to come up with a more interactive virtual program for next week instead of just expecting people to sit and watch my Pandemic Pantry entries. I don't know if you're familiar with Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, but it's one of those books that I will pick up and reread and reread and reread. It was written in 1932 and published in 1933. It's a dystopian novel about the world state, which takes place in 2532 AF, which is after Ford. And it's a very interesting read. I think that the author saw a lot of what we're seeing way back in the 1930s. And one of the reasons it came to mind this morning when I was putting together my Pandemic Pantry creation was in the book, the government realized that feeding the population was going to be an issue, and they've developed food pills where you just take a pill and you've got all the nutrition that you need. Which wasn't meant to be a benefit in the book. It was one of the ways of government control. The government gained control of people by making them as happy as possible, and taking away the anxiety of not enough food by having food pills or food capsules. Was one way to keep people happy. And it's not my fear of not having enough food that made that appeal to me. It's just that if I didn't have to think about what to eat and could just take a pill, life would be so much better. But anyways, enough of that. That was my little book talk during Pandemic Pantry. So my creation today for you is something that I most often have for lunch because it's easy and portable, and it does actually fit the bill for Pandemic Pantry, as you will see in a minute. In this bowl, I have frozen blueberries that are now thawed out. And if you're like me, when blueberry season comes around and blueberry picking is a thing, you run out and you pick and pick and pick and pick. It's so much fun. So every weekend you go and you pick pounds and pounds of blueberries, and you can only eat so many blueberries. So I freeze them, and I hate them frozen, but I do it because it's just part of the thing. And then I get to this time of year and I think, blueberries sound good. So I thaw out the frozen blueberries, put them in a bowl, and they get mushy, not so much good for anything, but for this creation. And I have a freezer with bags of those. So from my Pandemic Pantry is last year's frozen blueberries. Okay, so what do I do with these frozen blueberries? They're no good for cereal. I don't like to bake with them. Not that I bake much anyways, but they're juicy, and then they discolor things, and I don't know, that's no fun for me either. So into my frozen thawed out blueberries, I will add a cup of Chobani Greek yogurt, plain, non-fat, because I try to stay away from processed sugar, and a lot of the fruit flavored yogurts that you can buy have a lot of processed sugar in them. So then to that I add about a tablespoon of my favorite granola, which is Kind vanilla blueberry granola with flax seeds. And then I will add, just because I like flaxseed, a tablespoon of whole ground flaxseed meal. And for a little sweetness, without adding sugar, I like to add about a tablespoon of unsweetened flaked coconut. It adds a lot of texture, and it adds a lot of taste, and is fairly healthy for you. And I mix all those together in this bowl. I'm not going to do it right now because this is lunch today. And there you have a nutritious and delicious meal from my Pandemic Pantry, using up the end of last year's frozen blueberries before it's time to pick them again this year. So that's the final creation for my pandemic pantry. However, I am still accepting recipes, so if you'd like to include something in the pandemic pantry recipe book that'll come out when we reopen, please email it along to donna@ingleslibrary.com. And I'm working on ideas for next week, and I haven't quite decided what would be the best format for something going forward, whether it's a cooking type program, a crafting type program. I'm not really sure. So if you have any ideas or something that you'd like to see, I don't know if you're like me, but right now I'm just kind of tired of computer screens and tired of watching videos and tired of a lot of the things that we're doing these days. I miss interacting with people, and I'm hoping that we can set up a Zoom program or some sort of live program where we can meet remotely and actually interact with each other and have discussions. It sounds like something that would be wonderful because there's so little of that going on these days. So there you have it. Like I said, I'm working busily on a phased reopening plan for the library. We really miss having patrons around. I hope you miss us too. Not that I want you to be sad, but it's a sad kind of time. So take good care, stay safe, wash your hands, and I hope to see you soon at the library. Goodbye from the Pandemic Pantry.